So the Nintendo Switch now has officially been on the market a little bit over a month now, and I would like to talk about my experiences and everything about the system because I've owned the system now since launch, so I can tell you everything about the system. Now, first off, let's start with all the problems people have been experiencing with the system, whether it's the Joy-Con desyncing issue, whether it's the bending of the system, or whether it's the screen scratching when used in dock, pulling it in and out. Now, I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I have not experienced too much problems with the Switch system itself, whether it's being the Joy-Con desyncing issue, whether it's being the bend gate issue where the system bends over too much usage, or whether it's the screen being scratched. I have not experienced too much of that. The reason I say I have not experienced too much of that because I did experience one problem with my unit, and it's not even that big of an issue. The issue I did experience is that the front panel did get scratched. Now, I am not 100% sure how it got scratched. Luckily enough, I am one of those people with all my technology. I am OCD. I just like popping on screen protectors. So I popped on one day one without even being warned that that was an issue that some people were having. So with me just being paranoid with all my technology, I cannot say for sure if it was from the dock or whatnot or even how it got there. And to be honest, 99% of my playthrough as of right now with the system has been in docked mode. So I have been using it in docked mode more than I have been using it in handheld. Now, I have used my system in handheld mode quite a few times since launch because I have gone a couple of places and I did bring my Switch. And I honestly, again, cannot say if it was from the dock, if it was me just putting it in my case or whatnot, but I did end up getting a scratch. Now, the scratch I did encounter was a slight, tiny little scratch, and it was not a big scratch. And luckily, the scratch I got was not on the screen itself. It was on the front panel, but it was on the bezel. So if you don't have a screen protector on your Switch, you may end up getting a scratch if you're using it in dock around the bezel and not on the screen. So that is the good news for people who don't use screen protectors really, or maybe you can't afford one right off the bat. Most likely, if you are going to get a scratch, you're most likely going to get a scratch right around the bezel instead of actual on the screen. But honestly, I would definitely recommend you just picking up a screen protector for your system, just because if you're not aware of it by now, the Switch is a plastic screen instead of a glass screen that you're used to on tablets and smartphones and some laptops. But then again, that is good for a lot of people, especially kids, who might end up dropping their system. If you drop your Switch, most likely the screen is not going to shatter and not going to break or anything like that. You'll just get a lot of scuff marks on the screen and a lot of scratching. But then again, if you don't want those things to happen with your screens, as it is plastic, a lot of just things flying around and things will end up scratching your screen. It is just recommended to just put a screen protector on your screen and go about your business. Whether it's a glass screen protector or a plastic film screen protector, just put one on your Switch and you should be okay. Now, in terms of the other problems people have been talking about of the Switch, I have not experienced the Joy-Con desyncing issue. But what I do recommend, though, if you do have the Joy-Con desyncing issue as of right now, I would highly recommend trying to get that repaired as soon as possible, even if you're not using the Joy-Cons primarily off-screen, if you're mostly using the Pro Controller. That is because Nintendo is probably going to fix it at no cost since the Switch is fairly brand new. But if you wait down the road longer, most likely Nintendo won't repair your Joy-Con at free. They'll want to charge for it. So I would highly recommend getting it replaced if the Joy-Con is not acting right, just because it is fairly new and most likely Nintendo is going to repair it for free at no cost. So go ahead, even if you don't think you need it repaired because you're using the Pro Controller, even if it's acting up, just go ahead and get that repaired. Most likely you can get it repaired at free of charge. Now with the bend gate issue, honestly, I wouldn't even worry about that whole bend gating issue because in most scenarios, I would say it's less than a 0.1% chance that most people are experiencing the bend gating issue. The bend gate issue is just a very rare majority of people. I think as of right now, there are only like 3 or 4 cases. Now, don't take my word for that. I could easily be wrong about that, but from what I've heard, I haven't seen many cases of the bend gate issue at all, and I'm one of those users that have not experienced that. I don't know what really happened when people got that bend gating issue, but that bend gating issue is just very, very, very low amount of Switch users actually experiencing that bend getting issue. So as far as issues goes, outside of the screen or the bezel scratching on the front, I have not experienced any problems with my Switch. I have so far, in terms of performance and in terms of problems, have been very happy with my Switch system right now. Now, next off, I am going to be talking about the UI of the system, because that's probably what you want to hear and what you want to know about. Now, in terms of the Switch's UI, I can honestly say and safely say it is one of my favorite UIs in a very long time. I just really do love the UI of this system. If you've ever used a Wii U, Wii, 3DS, then you will know that those ones are quite slow, especially the Wii U's whole interface and everything like that. But with the Switch's interface, the interface just flies fast, especially when you're playing a game like Breath of the Wild that's hours and hours and hours. The user interface is just so smooth, so much nice. It's not clunky, it's not bulky and anything like that. It's just a really trimmed down experience. There's not a lot going on, and you can go in and out of the game. The nice thing is too, when you're on the TV, you can actually put your Switch in sleep mode, and it turns on very fast from a sleep mode. And then also, if you want to put a game in the back and like pause it, you can have it paused and in sleep mode. So when you boot on the system from sleep mode, that you can resume your gameplay, and your game will resume right away, and you can continue on playing the game. So kudos to Nintendo for making a very nice interface with not a lot of junk on it, or not a lot of unnecessary things. Because I will say one thing the Wii U had, which I did not like, and yes, if you're not aware of it by now, I do own a Wii U, and one thing I don't like about the Wii U is how when you first boot up, you have the Miiverse little Miis coming across the screen. At first, I really liked Miiverse, and I used it a lot, but as days gone by, and months gone by, and years gone by, I just really stopped using Miiverse personally, and honestly, I didn't find that screen too useful at all. I wish it would have booted up to the screen where it had all your games and apps on it, but it always boots up to that main screen first. Yes, on the gamepad you can switch it, or you can boot up a game right away, but honestly, I just wish the Wii U's interface was a little bit more snappier, because everyone knows at launch that thing was just a pain to use. It was very slow and clunky, and even as they updated it and get more features to it, it was just not the most pleasant experience using the Wii U's interface. So I'm glad Nintendo's finally learning from their mistakes and finally making this whole streamed down user interface that's just very nice to use. What I will say though, it is a nice user interface, but what I will say, it's not perfect. There are a lot of things I wish that the user interface of the Switch has. Like, for one thing, I wish the user interface had a battery indicator to indicate how low your batteries are, whether you're using the Joy-Cons or whether you're using the Pro Controller. Unfortunately, you have to go into the screen where you pair the controllers to see how much battery you have left of your controller. Or if you're not going to click on that screen, you have to wait until the batteries get low on your controller, and then it'll bring up a warning that says batteries are low. One thing I don't like about the interface right now is how you have to jump out of a game if you want to share a screenshot you just took in a game. So I wish they would update that to where maybe after you take a picture, you hold it down or click it again, and it would automatically jump you to a screen where you can share it immediately instead of jumping out of a game. That would be really handy. Also, one thing I don't really like right now, although it's not a problem now, it will end up being a problem for some people and a lot of people down the road, is that all your games are in one long list. So once you get like a lot of games on your home screen, you're going to have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling once you build up a big collection. I know after you hit the maximum on the home screen, it does bring up at the very end of the list an all apps button, but even so, why do you have to keep clicking on that every time? I wish somehow in a near future update they make it to where the all apps screen, when you click on it, just stays on the home screen forever. You can make it your primary home screen when you boot the system if you have an option for that. One thing I don't like either is how hard it is or how inconvenient it is to decline a lot of friend requests. You can't just select like 20 users to decline them all. You have to go by each individual user one by one, decline his friend request, decline his user friend request. It's just really annoying. I wish you can just highlight as many people as you want or all of them at one time, and it would delete all their friend requests if you don't want those friend requests. So that is kind of inconvenient. But I can say overall, this is one of my favorite user interfaces for a console or a handheld. The only other one I can think of that I really do like is the PS4's. I think the PS4 is just as nice. It's clean, it's fast. I love that one as well. So again, I cannot I cannot give enough props to Nintendo for making a user interface that I actually do like at the moment. I just think it's very, very nice. Like I said before, I am primarily using the system docked most of the time, but I would like to talk about my experiences out of the dock, because I have used it out of the dock for more than 8-10 hours at a time, and I would like to talk about my experiences with it being a portable system. Now, I have experienced one thing where I'm not sure if a lot of people have actually experienced this problem or not. This could just be me. I'm not 100% sure about it. But one thing I am experiencing is when I am using the Switch in a vehicle during the day, I do get a lot of glare, and it's really annoying. Now, this could just be my screen protector on my Switch, because I do know for a fact that screen protectors do alter the glare and everything on the system. So don't take this word for word. If you don't use a screen protector, your experience may vary, and it may vary from screen protector to screen protector. But from my experiences, I am getting a lot of glare when I'm playing it in a car. It's not to the point to where I can't play the system, but it's enough to where I'd say it does bother me, and it's almost not even worth playing it in a car. The only times I really do enjoy it when I'm playing in a car is either when it's like dark outside or when it's like cloudy outside. But when it's actually sunny outside, it bugs me enough to where the glare is bothering me. And one thing I did notice, I don't know if it's my screen protector or if it's just the Switch itself, is that it does contract a lot of dust, and every once in a while I will have to dust it from time to time. I would probably say, if I'm in handheld mode, probably a couple hours or every single day. It does bother me that much. So if you're one of those people, you're going to have to go get a one of those cleaning cloths, and wipe down your screen from time to time, just because it does contract a lot of dust. Now again, like I said, it could just be my screen protector putting up a lot of dust around the screen and things like that. But that's one thing I am noticing right off the bat. And then speaking of the glare, just to talk about the glare, one thing I did notice about the glare is I can actually see my face in the Switch's screen, which really does bother me. And some other stuff on my phone, I can notice it, but it's not that bad. I actually compared the Switch screen to my phone screen in the car in the same situation, and my phone was definitely almost 99% usable in the same situation. So unfortunately for me personally, I don't like using the Switch in very bright sunlight or bright lights. It's just almost not a very fun experience. But then again, don't take my word for it. You're really gonna have to try it out. Now, in terms of like the system in handheld mode, I do like it in handheld mode. I think it's a very fluid experience and a very nice experience. I've had no problems with it. Talking about the speakers on the back of this system, a lot of people have been saying they're really amazing speakers. Honestly, I don't think they're amazing speakers. They do get pretty loud, but I wouldn't say they're anything mind-blowing or anything amazing. But I will say they do get the job done, and I am very happy with the speakers on the actual system. Another thing I really do like about the system, I'm trying to think here because I just accidentally forgot what I was going to say. I was talking about the system in handheld mode and everything like that. I guess I'm just going to talk about battery life right now. Now, in handheld mode, depending on game to game, it'll vary from game to game. But in handheld mode, at least with Breath of the Wild, you get a solid 3 hours. And what I can say is, for me personally, 3 hours is long enough. After 3 hours, I felt like I've gotten my fix with the Switch, and I'm really happy I've gotten my fix. I'm ready to put it down. I don't feel like I need more. Would it be nice to have more? Of course, it would always be nice if you have more about the battery life and things like that. But I think 3 is definitely very nice. Once you actually play, you'll feel like you've had enough. And since Nintendo finally went a standard, mostly USB Type-C, you shouldn't have a problem charging this, whether you find a wall outlet to charge it or whether you get a USB battery pack to charge it on. One thing to take note about USB battery packs, unfortunately, I have not used a battery pack on my system yet, but if you're thinking about getting a battery pack, I have heard people on the internet say it does draw a lot of power, and if you don't use the right USB battery pack, it won't charge your system at all, or it will just stall out, or it will actually go down in percentage. So be aware of that if you're thinking about buying a USB wall charger. Same thing as going for the wall. I think there might be some kind of problem charging it. What I would recommend is using the one specifically made for the Switch. And when I'm on the go, I actually do end up using the wall adapter that's provided in the box because I don't want to have to worry about it not charging up all the way. So that's what I'm doing currently. I mean, you could use one that's made for your phone, but if you don't want to take any chances, make sure it charges all the way up. Then definitely go with the one that came out of the box. And you can actually buy those separately as well, which is great. So you can buy more of those if you don't want to keep unplugging it from the dock, unplugging the USB wall charger from the dock. Now, in terms of the actual screen and everything like that, I really do love the Switch's screen. I know a lot of people nowadays hear 720p and say, oh, 720p is not actually a lot for a handheld device. And to be honest, for most current technology, it sounds pretty weak, honestly. Compared to a smartphone, a laptop, a tablet, anything out now, you would say, yeah, 720p looks bad. But considering gaming handhelds have never been HD, this thing looks flat out gorgeous. And I can say personally, I have many times where I would just take the system, look at it, and say, wow, I'm actually playing the same console game I'm playing on the TV. I'm not playing a 3DS game compared to a Wii U game. It's not a port or a much more worse version than the other console. I'm playing the same console game I would play on the TV, and honestly, 720p is going to be enough. And honestly, when you get your hands on a Switch or you see a game being played, well, especially like a AAA game like Breath of the Wild or anything AAA, you're definitely be like, wow, this looks amazing in your hand. And honestly, what I can say as well for the Switch is, I can say the Switch is the first handheld gaming device, period, whether it's from Sony, Nintendo, any company. What I can say is the Switch is the very first console that I have ever felt like I've actually wanted to take out of my house or just use in handheld mode. I've owned many of consoles in the past that are handheld, whether it be 3DS, PS Vita, PSP, DS, Game Boy Advance, and I have not really felt like I needed to take those out of the house. But with me playing the same console game I am playing on my TV on the go, almost every time I'm going on a trip or going far away for hours, I feel like I'm bringing my Switch with me. It is that impressive, and I'm not losing anything, because remember, you're playing the same game you are on the TV on the go. Although, of course, you are playing it on the TV at a higher resolution compared to handheld, it does not feel like it's a different experience. It feels like the exact same game. And honestly, you can't even tell the graphical difference whether you're playing it on the TV or playing on the Switch's handheld mode. So don't feel like 720p is not enough. 720p is definitely enough. Now, one thing I did like, which Nintendo did not chop, is the 3.5mm headphone jack. Unlike somebody out there, you know who I'm talking about. Wink, wink. Talking about Apple. Apple did chop off the 3.5mm headphone jack in the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, but I'm glad Nintendo realizes there is no reason to chop a headphone jack. And in situations whether you're in like a school picking up your kid, or if you're in a doctor's office or in a waiting room or anything like that, it is nice to have a 3.5mm headphone jack so that you can just pop on headphones. Yes, Bluetooth is a thing, but a lot of people don't like Bluetooth, and you don't have to worry about charging your headphones and just things like that. And if you were wondering as well, Bluetooth headphones at this current moment will not work with the Switch. So if you are wondering about using Bluetooth headphones with the Switch, that is not an option right now, unfortunately. So forget about the Bluetooth headphones. It does have some kind of Bluetooth in it, because I think the Joy-Cons do work on Bluetooth, but unfortunately you cannot use Bluetooth headphones with the actual Switch system, unfortunately. Now, one thing I do like as well is the way you take off the Joy-Cons. I feel like it's a smooth experience. I haven't felt like they're going to snap off or break or anything like that. I feel like it's a solid connection when you snap on the Joy-Cons. It's actually a really satisfying click when you snap on the Joy-Cons to the actual Switch system itself. And it does feel really, really sturdy. So don't worry about it snapping off or feeling like it's going to break. Overall, my experiences with the Switch at this very moment in time have been very, very good. I am a very proud Switch owner, and I'm very glad I did pick up a system. If you are worried about picking up a Switch because you've heard all the stuff people have been saying, like the Joy-Con desyncing issue, the scratching the screen issue with the dock, or the bend gaining issue, honestly, I would not really worry about those issues at all. I know the most frequent issue with the Switch at this very moment is the Joy-Con desyncing issue, but honestly, Nintendo has been working on that issue, and if you wait longer in the future to buy your Switch, most likely that issue will be fixed in the future, because the newer batches of Switches should have that problem fixed. And you can also fix that problem too by just buying new Joy-Con sitting on the shelf, so that will totally solve that problem altogether. Like I said, overall I have been very, very happy with my Switch experience. One thing I must say, if you are wondering about how noisy the Switch is in handheld mode, you cannot hear it run up in handheld mode, because I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think that when you use the Switch in handheld mode, the fan inside or whatever's cooling it does not even come on. I think the fan inside or whatever's cooling it only comes on when you're in docked mode, just because it needs more power and it needs to be cooled off. But when you're playing in 720p handheld, it does not warm up at all, and it does not make noise at all. So don't worry about playing in handheld mode feeling like you may be annoying, or people around you may be annoyed because it makes too much noise and it's going to be too warm on your hands. Honestly, none of that is an issue. It's not too warm, and it doesn't make any sound at all. And just talking about that as well, talking about handheld mode, one other thing is that it does feel nice in your hands. I did say it was a little bit too wide, but honestly, I got used to it, and it's not too wide. I actually like the way the Switch is. One thing about the Switch, obviously, is it's not the most smallest system in the world, so unfortunately, you're not going to be putting it in your pocket most of the time. Even if you take off the Joy-Cons, most likely you're going to be buying a case for it and putting it in a case, even if you're not a person that likes cases, just because this thing is a little bit big. It's not really a portable. It's portable enough, you can take it on the go, but it's not portable enough like a 3DS, a DS, a Game Boy Advance, Vita, to where you can put it in your pocket. So most likely you will be looking at a case to put this in when you're traveling, just because it is big enough. You're not going to want to put it in your pocket. Like I said, everything has been great. I do enjoy my system. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.